movement. Those who do not know what is the RET is the Radical Economic Transformation, the movement. Do you think David Mabuza sold them out? I'm interested to gather your views on that topic. But before we go deep on it, guys, my name is Tebos Kosana, and the name of this platform, it is Izwi Labansundu. Izwi Labansundu simply means the voice for Africans. It's important that we as Africans, we build our own media platforms, because the media is a very contested terrain that manufactures consent and perpetuate ideas. So if we as Africans, we do not contest that space, then of course we are leaving the space to our oppressors, to our colonizers, to the white establishment to continue to tell our story their own way. So that's why it's so important that we need to build our own platforms, our own alternative platforms, as to narrate our own stories and tell our side of things. So it's important that we build those platforms. So this platform is one of those platforms, and I'm pleading with you guys to help me grow this platform. One, you can help me grow this platform by subscribing. Please subscribe to this platform. It is for free. To subscribe, it is for free. It will not cost you anything to subscribe. It will not cost you anything to subscribe. And after subscribing, please click on the notification button. There's a notification button. Please click on it, so each time I publish a video, you'll then get notified. So I publish videos every day at 7 a.m. South African time. So please click the notification bell, so each time I publish a video, then you get notified. Then after receiving that notification, please watch the video, so the YouTube algorithm will then recommend the video to a much wider audience, meaning that our reach will become much bigger. Another way it is by joining to becoming a paying member. You can contribute 20 rands per month. Just like Sfiso Mbajwa has done, and we must thank him for that, for taking up the membership. Another way it is by buying us the super thanks. There's different options available in terms of the super thanks. Another option, it is by watching through the ads. There are ads that get to be played on the videos, that are placed on the videos. It's important that you watch those ads. You do not skip any of those ads. That's another way of the platform to generate, for the platform to be able to generate what you call income. So you're able to sustain these platforms, you see. So those are the ways that can help me to grow the platform, because also share the video on the social media platforms, different social media platforms that you guys are using. So now let's get to the topic, guys. So this is what we're going to be doing every Sunday, 12 p.m. We're going to be having these discussions. We call them the Black Perspective discussions. So we're going to discuss different issues from the Black perspective. So today we are talking the late former Deputy President David Mabuza, who of course that David Mabuza passed on Thursday, the 3rd of July 2025. This is after a short illness. That's what we've been told. It is after a short illness. And as with any, you see, as if the passing of any public figure, especially a political leader who was at some stage the ANC's deputy president, or firstly before becoming the ANC deputy president, David Mabuza was first the ANC provincial chairperson in the province of Mpumalanga. And of course, he became the premier of Mpumalanga, then also became the ANC's deputy president, right? And of course, he later on ascended to the position of the deputy president of the country. So if a person, as it is normal, if a passing of someone of that stature, there will be debates and discussions, right, in the country regarding that particular person's legacy. So there's nothing untoward with us discussing David Mabuza's legacy. But before we go deep into it, let me just first pass my condolences. It's the right thing to do, we as Africans, that pass our condolences to the Mabuza's family, his comrades, his friends, and of course his organization, the African National Congress. So as I've already said, that David Mabuza served as a provincial chairperson and premier in the province of Mpumalanga. he later ascended to the position of the ANC Deputy President, right? And then in 2018, he became the Deputy President of the country in 2018 until his resignation in the year 2023. So there's already a debate or a discussion, a heated one for that matter, in the country regarding David Mabuza's legacy as a public figure and the leader of both the political party and that of government, right? And we must also appreciate that we cannot silence people from having this type of discussions, you see. And indeed, his legacy appears to be a contested legacy, as it is to be expected, right? Because people hardly ever agree on a subject that will find people that agree on everything. So I wish to put up front that discussion that I'm initiating here, it is not aimed at talking ill of the dead, because as we know, as Africans, there's also how we've been brought up to say that we do not talk ill of the dead, right, who cannot be able to defend themselves. But what I'm doing is rather aimed at providing an informative analysis of the man and the leader that David Mabuza was. Because as much as the intention, of course, is not to talk ill of the dead, but that does not mean we are prohibited from talking about their actions, how they conducted themselves when they're still alive, and their legacy, how their legacy impacted us as a society, but especially more so as a country. How his legacy, what is his legacy? How should we remember him? What were his contributions to the country? You see, so it's important that as much as, of course, we understand that we're not talking ill of the dead, but we must still be honest with ourselves. We must still be honest with ourselves to talk about the leaders, especially people who've become public office bearers. You see. So then there's also, of course, in this type of discussion, there will be a thesis in terms of there's one view, then you juxtapose that view for another view, then that will issue what to call a synthesis, meaning we've got a thesis, then there should be an antithesis. Then so when those two come together, they should issue a synthesis. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So David Mabuza, you see, there's this other view that David Mabuza is the man who betrayed the struggle and the movement for radical economic transformation, RET. And one of the key things that David Mabuza will be remembered for, because I think for most people, the mere mention of the name David Mabuza, one of the things that comes top in terms of what is it that people firstly think of when we talk about David Mabuza, it is his role in the ANC's 54th National Conference in Nasrec. The role that he played, of course, he at the time was the Mpumalanga's ANC provincial chairperson. So the role he played in that conference that was held in Nasrec in 2017 in propelling Cyril Ramaphosa to the presidency of the ANC, and of course, ultimately to the presidency of the country in 2018, when Cyril Ramaphosa removed Jacob Zuma in 2018. So one of the things indeed that when you mention the name David Mabuza, the first thing that people think of, it is his role in propelling Cyril Ramaphosa to the position that he currently is in. And of course, later on he got to be dished out. The very same ANC cabal that is led by Cyril Ramaphosa came the next conference of the ANC, the 55th, that took place in Nasrec as well, but in 2022. They discarded David Mabuza. He became a liability to them. This is despite him having played a pivotal role in ensuring that Cyril Ramaphosa became the president of the ANC. So one of the key things I've said that David Mabuza will be remembered for, it is his role in the ascendance to the presidency of the ANC for Cyril Ramaphosa. As you know that in the lead up, so prior to the ANC's 54th National Elective Conference, public knowledge that David Mabuza, who at the time was the ANC Mpumalanga provincial chairperson and of course the premier, was one of the key leaders in the radical economic transformation camp, the RET camp, within the ANC. He was part of a lobby group known as the Premier League. I don't know how many of you guys still remember that. I hope you guys do have that memory. Do you guys still remember there was a grouping that was known as the Premier League within the African National Congress, which was constituted by premiers and provincial chairpersons of the ANC from the Free State Province, which was Esma Khashule, the Northwest Province under Supra Mahumapelo, and of course Mpumalanga under David Mabuza, the late David Mabuza himself. This was a very strong group and very powerful lobby within the ANC, which was a pillar of the RET, the Radical Economic Transformation faction in the ANC. So the RET faction was known, of course, the RET faction was known to be staunch supporters, right? To be staunch supporters of the then ANC and State President, President Jacob Zuma. So in the lead up to the ANC's 54th elective conference, the RET group was supporting Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. Of course, we know that Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, she's former spouse to former President Jacob Zuma. But of course, I don't like this thing always attaching Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma to President Jacob Zuma as if she's not her own person, you see. But it was important just to mention that for those who maybe not be aware of that. So, in the lead up to that 54th elective conference, the RET group was supporting Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma for the president of the ANC to succeed the then outgoing president, Jacob Zuma. Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, of course, that campaign was known as NDZ 17. Still remember those days of the NDZ lobby group. Her campaign was known as the NDZ 17. She was up against the then ANC Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, who of course his campaign was termed the CR17, and you know there's still court cases and stuff about the ceiling of the funding for that campaign, the CR17 campaign. You see, so in the lead up to that conference, all indicators before and even during, meaning at the start of the conference, all the indicators pointed to Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as a clear favorite to emerge as a winner. This was up until the day before the voting took place in that conference, when David Mabuza and the Mpumalanga delegation that he was leading started talking about backing a candidate they termed Unity. Do you still remember the time when they got to the conference that David Mabuza and the Mpumalanga delegation were no longer talking about supporting Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and they did not explicitly say that they've joined the camp, the CR17 camp, but they talked about the so-called Unity candidate. You see, but of course, as it was later to be discovered that when the results were being announced, because the people who were vying for the presidency of the ANC, it was Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Cyril Ramaphosa. So when later the results were being announced and Cyril Ramaphosa was announced as the new ANC president, then it dawned that in fact David Mabuza had turned his back on Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma in the last minutes. You see. So, of course, it is now public knowledge that Ramaphosa's campaign received over 1 billion rands from the white monopoly capital You know, those things have been sealed. The courts have pronounced themselves and all of that. There's a lot of secrecy involved in that funding. So the question that we ought to pose, that could it be that some of that money was used to buy David Mabuza, with all indicators pointing to the betrayal of the RET struggle by David Mabuza? Because Cyril Ramaphosa knows this, and those who are in Cyril Ramaphosa's camp, and any honest person who knows about these matters, they know that without David Mabuza betraying Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and therefore betraying the radical economic transformation group, Cyril Ramaphosa would not have ascended to the presidency of the ANC. That is a fact. And of course, now you get now after his David Mabuza's passing on Thursday, in the mainstream media, we are being told that the fact, and this is being said by the so-called analysts, political commentators, and even journalists, who are now telling us that what Mabuza did, he saved South Africa from the so-called state capture cabal. And of course, this has been the public knowledge that I dismiss anything that has to do with the so-called state capture, because that's just a fallacy, that's just a propaganda. There's no intellectual, ideological evidence that can back up the thing that is anything that's called the state capture. We are very clear about that one, you see. So now, after David Mabuza's passing, we are being told that, in fact, he's a hero. He saved us as the country from Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and the RET grouping. Of course, you know, that is part of the propaganda, because they want to drive this thing to the people, that they want people to accept that there's at some stage a thing that is called state capture. But we know that it has no backing, you see. So Ramaphosa indeed must be thankful to David Mabuza that it is through Mabuza's assistance that Ramaphosa became the president of the ANC and later on the president of the country. So indeed, it is difficult to argue against anyone who says that David Mabuza betrayed the struggle for radical economic transformation. Because you'd see that after Ramaphosa's ascending to be the president of the ANC in December 2017, and then of course February 2018 became the state president after removing President Jacob Zuma. Look at how Ramaphosa's administration has been reversing and attacking all the gains and the benefits that have to do with the transformation and empowerment of black people. Greetings, Quilvo the Dragon, asking that people do choose their own realities. Well, unfortunately for us as black people, we don't have that privilege to choose our own reality. It is a reality that's been set by colonialism that came here and continues to remain within the structures structurally. That's our reality. When we are born into this world as black people, we are born into a reality that we not of our own choosing. You see. So Ramaphosa and his people, they know this. And of course, in true nature of politics, after Mabuza assisting Ramaphosa, then they later on discarded him and threw him out, you see, after betraying the RET. You see. So of course, as is like any other person, there's different sides to a person. A human being is a complex thing, right? So the antithesis is that David Mabuza has been presented as a man of his weight by those who worked closely with him and those who got to benefit from the services that came under Mabuza's administration or leadership. Because you hear people from Mpumalanga who would say that he built them houses, and others would say he had made promises to them and he kept those promises. That tells of the nature of a human being. Will experience a person differently, you see. So David Mabuza, the man who's, this is the antithesis, that David Mabuza, the man who saved the ANC in the country from the RET brigades, right? As we know that this group, the RET group, has been painted as the most corrupt by the various mainstream media platforms and their so-called analysts and experts. So this is the antithesis that is being given to us. Remember, I gave you the thesis. So now there's antithesis that's also being pushed, that the man Mabuza is a man that is a savior that saved us. So Mabuza's last minute turn against Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma has been held as a momentous move which altered the history of this country. And of course, it has altered the history of this country, but from different interpretations. You see, because you must ask yourself that had he not assisted Ramaphosa to become the ANC president, what would have happened to this country? Where would we be in terms of that radical economic transformation program that seeks to empower people? And of course, we do not discount the claims about the corruption that was said to be part of the RET group. But as we stand right now, even years after the mandate was wasted in that useless political, jamboree or political, that state capture commission by Zondo, right? How many convictions have been achieved, if indeed what was the gossip that was being peddled in that Zondo commission was anything tangible, you see? So then what becomes our synthesis? Our synthesis that we learned that David Mabuza and his legacy is that a human being is very complex and has to be studied in detail. The takeaway is that David Mabuza played a significant role in getting Cyril Ramaphosa elected as the ANC president, and therefore paving the way for Ramaphosa to be the state president. By doing this, Mabuza betrayed the struggle for radical transformation, right? As Ramaphosa is a known opponent of the radical economic transformation, and indeed there's evidence in terms of how he has attacked and reversed the progress that was being made. David Mabuza did good to other sections of the population, and that is what they will remember him for. Those are the people that will remember him for. So I'm interested, guys, to hear your views on the comments. Do you guys think that Mabuza did betray the struggle for radical economic transformation? Or do you guys think that Mabuza saved us by betraying Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and therefore they tend to support Cyril Ramaphosa to become the ANC president? Thank you guys for tuning in. This was going to be two guys, going to be two every Sunday, 12 p.m. We're going to have these discussions. So next week, Sunday, we're going to have a different discussion. On the comment section, guys, you are welcome to suggest that what is it that you want us to talk about? What are the issues that you want us to dissect, right? Next week, Sunday. Of course, during the week, I'll be publishing videos and all of that. But in terms of this live, we're going to be doing this live and this talk or discussions every Sunday at 12 p.m. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please, guys, remember to subscribe. Remember to join to become a paying member, 20 Rand per month or more. Remember to buy us the super thanks, just like Usisi No Data did. And remember also not to skip the ads that play on the videos. That's another form or another way for the platform to generate the income. Thank you guys for tuning in. Siyabonga ma Africa. Izwi lethu.